super excited to be here today. I'm going to talk to you about intuition, how to connect with it in difficult times. And, connecting with our intuition in difficult times is almost like trying to train a cat that's stubborn and unpredictable. But when it works, it's really magical, right? My name is Amirah Hall, and for the past 25 years, I've been teaching people how to connect with their intuition, heal themselves, and turn their pain into power, and create the life that they want. As a psychic medium, as a manifesting mentor, it's been my ultimate joy to not only manifest the things I want, but also to show other people how easy it can be done. But the number one mistake that I witness people, of all the thousands of people over the last 25 years that I've counseled and then I've coached, is the number one mistake is that people overthink. They overthink being able to access their intuition. Honestly, when we're in stressful situations, oftentimes we are in our head, and that isn't the place where really the answers come. And I mean, in the head, I'm talking about a version or an aspect of your brain or your mind that I call the analyzer. And we overthink. Journaling is a great thing to do. Writing notes. I'm a great doodler. A lot of times I see people making pros and cons list. Have you ever done that? I've done that myself. Sometimes the con list is way longer, but your fault, or the con list could be shorter, but there's something about that either way, whether it's pro or con. I'm getting all muddled up. You know what? Mercury's retrograde, and that is going to be affecting our communication, our technology, and so much else. So we can talk about that another time. I'm not an astrologer. That's one thing I'm not. A lot of times people reach out to other people. Have you ever called your friends asking for advice because you just don't know what's the right choice or decision to make? And what that does is, when we continually reach out to other people for our answers, we end up becoming powerless. Actually, it can be annoying because maybe we don't like the response that our friend gives us. And it's irritating because they'll judge you, or they could say that you're way off base, and you end up being way more anxious about making the choice that you need to make. I know, because that happened to me 25 years ago after my near-death experience. When I came back to the US, my six-figure job fell apart, and my whole life as I knew it began crumbling all around me. It fell apart faster than you could, a wet tissue so I was lost. I isolated. I became depressed. I was so anxious. I didn't have very many friends in the United States, so I didn't have a lot of people that I could rely on. But the thing that happened for me is that my sixth sense, my intuition, or my inner psychic self was opened so wide. It was like I was seeing otherworldly beings and phenomena that defied reality. It was like, for me, stepping into the cantina scene in Star Wars, if you've ever seen Star Wars. So it was helpful getting good intuitive guidance at a certain point. But because I was so dysfunctional at that point, I needed tools. I was looking for an answer to heal myself and to get myself back on track. I knew something had happened to me. So whether it's your own personal illness or life trauma or drama, like in my case, or it's a loss of a loved one, or the loss of a career. God knows we've all been through incredible trauma over the last 3 years with this whole pandemic situation. But ultimately, the biggest thing I think that I learned in all of that work, and it's the thing that I teach, the very first thing is all about grounding, learning how to be anchored and be present in the body is a way that we can effortlessly release the anxiety, the trauma, whether it's current time trauma or whether it's from our past, whether it's anxiety or all this overthinking or second guessing yourself. Procrastinating, not being able to complete things that you'd like to do, or feeling overwhelmed that maybe you're not even good enough to have the things that you want. All of that, the very first step that I teach in all the work I do, and with thousands of people over the last 2 decades plus, is learning about this concept of being present and being able to help our body feel safe. When the body can feel safe, it can begin letting go. I know there's a lot of books out there on meditation and how to breathe and light a candle and light some incense or sage your place. And that's all fun. That's all well and good, but it doesn't give the body that anchor the body needs. And quite honestly, in order for our spiritual gifts to flourish, for us to be clear, to connect to our intuition on a regular basis, the spirit literally has to come in closer to the body. And what it's literally like a hand in a glove experience, but you know that feeling then when that happens, it's completely different. And no, none of us have been taught how to do this. It is a process first of helping the body feel safe. When the body feels safe and it can let go, that's when the spirit can come closer, and that's when our spiritual abilities come online, literally. And, I created a distilled method for myself and students over the years because I found that when we can quickly plug in to this very simple formula that's based on science, we can 100% release the stress and anxiety. Whatever blocks are there unconsciously, that's what opens the floodgates to manifesting. And so that's where all the fun starts, right? How to, vibe high. That's the secret to vibing high. Of course, the coloring book helps you ground and release some energies. Bottom line is, I do what makes me the happiest. And grounding is one of those tools that when we allow ourselves to release the burden, the anxiety, the frustrations, and everything that's going on, shit hitting the fan, when we can let go of that stuff, then we have the energetic space to do what we love. And back to our intuition, it can come online. So back to this method that I created, grounding being so important. I remember working with a royal princess while I was living in Dubai, and they sought me out. I didn't know they existed, this particular family. And so when I went to the palace, we had this long ritual of getting to know each other, and the tea and the dates and another cup of tea and then some coffee and dessert and then lunch. And then I finally found out what it was that she was looking for. And there was a long list of things that she wanted, but to summarize it for here in honor of our time together here, she wanted to have another child. She had 3 children. They were all conceived with IVF because a doctor told her years ago when she was early married that she could never conceive naturally. Well, she went along with their suggestion. She had the 3 children with IVF, in vitro fertilization. They tried the 4th IVF and it failed. And that's when they reached out to me because her position as a royal princess in that culture relied on her having a child. Okay. So when she asked me to come, it was really, she wanted me to facilitate and help the next doctor that was coming with the hormone treatments and all of the next steps for her to go through another IVF process. Well, what was interesting is big part of the work I do when I see the energy is, of course, I clear the energy that's stuck in your energy field. It's a part of grounding, only she didn't have a good concept of that. So I gave her the tools that I teach all of my students. She began working with the tools and I would facilitate and move the excess energy she couldn't access. So we work as a team. And surprisingly, what happened, her husband started coming home early on the weekends, and they were having a lot more adult fun, and she was being more playful, and her passion was starting to come alive in terms of doing outside activities. Bottom line is, she got pregnant before she started the hormone therapy, against all the odds of all the top medical teams that money can buy. And I mean that because they had more money than God. And so she got pregnant, and she called me a few weeks after when I knew she was going to be pregnant. And she said, Amirah, wallah, I thought you were a crazy lady. And she didn't believe it herself. The bottom line is she felt more aligned. She felt more happy. She was more, we released the stress and the anxiety. She wasn't thinking Amirah was going to help her naturally get pregnant. She was just wanting to create a smooth path for the next step. Another story that comes to mind was a nurse. She was the director of nursing in Dubai while I was there. She came to me and she hadn't had a date in I think she said 10 years. It was a long time. She was very successful, very smart, very capable. So we did one session, clearing the energy and getting her grounded. And she met Mr. Wonderful 10 days after. And so I share that with you because I wanted to, talk about this book, the other book that I have here, Love Up Your Life. After my near-death experience, this was the first book that I wrote. And the very first chapter is Get Grounded to Attract More Love. So I wrote the book knowing what I know, that connecting with the fabric of all creation, being able to ground and let go of what we're not, helps us to connect with the divine aspect to who we are, love. And it can only happen when we ground ourselves and we get present. And so I know people want relationships, they want romance, they want more, to get laid more. And this talks about some of that, how to attract somebody, but how to have the love you want, the life you love. That's where it comes back to, is being able to be present and to be centered, to be clear about who you are and what you truly want, what's in your heart. So I hope that helps you today get grounded and be real, whether it's coloring. I'll put the link below. You can get my coloring book on Amazon. You can get the Love Up Your Life book on Amazon. I will give you the Stress Buster, the link also. And please, that is a tool to help, like an energy shower. It helps getting you grounded. When we can release safely the energies that have been building up, it's much easier to deal with the difficulties around us and making hard decisions and watching other people struggle around us. It's easier to go through that process easily and effortlessly with more clarity and have your intuition be there as your guide. So I will look forward to seeing you next week, Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Go ahead and leave me your comments if you're still here. I'd love to hear from you. Where are you most challenged? In what aspect of your life? What would you like some help with in grounding to create something different? So I'll see you then. Until then, have a blessed